Greetings, brothers and sisters, as we continue once more on our Building Characters for Eternity ministry, on this Bible study that we started more than a month ago now. We are entering on another character today, Zebulon. We have seen 4 characters so far. We started with Reuben, we had Simeon and Levi, we did Judah, and today we are looking at Zebulon, the 5th child in the line of Jacob's children. Remembering that our study is based on Genesis 49, where Jacob is talking to his children, each and every one of them, prophetically about what will befall them on the last days. And we did explain that the import of Jacob's words are more to us than it was to them, because he's talking about the last days. He's talking about their characters, the things, the impediments in their characters that will either make them or destroy them. Obviously, their last days is talking about a perilous days where there is a lot that each and every one of us have got to watch in our characters that will either get us being sealed to be part of the 144,000 that we see in Revelation 7, or to be excluded. He says, "Come, I tell you what shall befall you on the last days." And today we are looking at Zebulon. I'll repeat again for those who haven't been following us on this series. You can go back to all the others. We started from the introduction, where I explain what this series is all about and how we understand Jacob's import of words to his children in Genesis 49. Today we're looking at Zebulon. We'll just look at the words that Jacob said to Zebulon, and then we'll try on this first part of Zebulon to understand what is hidden in those words. What is Jacob actually saying to his son? And to the Zebulonites of the last days, to us who are living today, who have the tendencies of Zebulon. Can I have a reading in Genesis chapter 49, verse 13?
Zebulon shall dwell at the haven of the sea, and he shall be for an haven of ships, and his border shall be unto Zion.
That's all that Jacob is saying. That's all Jacob is saying to Zebulon. And from what meets the eye there, it sounds like he has just said nothing really that is significant. But we take a look. When we read the Bible, we got to also use a lot of history to understand that during that time, what was happening, what was Sidon, what was happening. Why did he say this to Zebulon? That tells us that there was something about Zebulon that made Jacob see this in him, foretell this kind of life about him. Now, if we go in a bit about the history of the Bible and the cities of that time, we'll come to understand that Sidon was one of the oldest Phoenician cities, situated on a narrow plain between the range of Lebanon and the Mediterranean Sea. It had a latitude of about 33 to 34 degrees nearly. The plain was well watered and fertile, about 10 miles long, extending from a little north of Serapta to the Bostranas. I mean, those were the cities of that time. Now, this ancient city was situated near the northern end of the plain, surrounded with a strong wall. If we read in the Bible, we hear about the city of Tyre. These were one of the subsidiary cities of Tyre that was built in the center of the ocean and with great walls that it could not be penetrated by its enemies. It possessed 2 harbors, the northern one about 500 yards long by 200 yards wide, well protected by little islets and a breakwater, and a southern harbor about 600 by 400 yards, are surrounded on 3 sides by land, but open to the west and thus exposed to bad weather. Now, pitching a tent or choosing for a place of dwelling in this area was therefore seen as risk-taking for the purpose of trade, gain, and leisure loving. So people who pitched their tents during that time, or people who set up their dwelling place to be in this area of Sidon, the towns that were in the coastline, in the towns that were near the sea, they were generally viewed by the people in Jacob's time or that time as people who were risk takers, people who were pleasure loving. These are the people who wanted to be near the ports of the sea, where the hub of activity was, where trading was happening. They were so much focused on making money, and therefore it was a risk worth taking for them to actually dwell around this area. But listening to the description of these cities and the positioning of them as far as the sea was concerned, it actually tells that they often suffered a lot of risk of loss of life, even their possessions and livestock, because of bad weather. We know today those who live anywhere, in the lands, mainlands where it's near the seas, that often there is bad weather. Whenever there's bad weather, to people who live close to the harbors of the sea, there is quite a risk. The sea may rise up and the waves may rise high and come in as tsunamis and all sort of things. But what kind of places or what kind of areas generally are people, of the people, the dwellers who dwell, in the coastlines of the sea? You find that these are the people who are mostly pleasure loving. They pursue everything that is of pleasure kind in the world. They are after business and making business, exchanging goods here and there in the ports of the sea. This is Zebulon. This is what Jacob is saying about Zebulon. Zebulon, he must have been this kind of a guy that his father, looking at him, he sees someone who will go as far as even pitching his tents in the coastlines of the sea, in Sidon. He sees him as one who is ever ready to take a risk just to get what he wants or just to have his way. He sees Zebulon as one who will not probably take instruction or use his common sense to look at the situation and say, well, this is not going to be worth it. I'd rather do things this way. He's a risk taker. So this is the import of the words of Jacob to Zebulon. It's a very short, part 1 of Zebulon. Next week, we will look at the actual import of those words, looking at the character of Zebulon to the Zebulonites of today, to you and me. What does it mean to be a Zebulon, to be the one who pitches your tent at the coastline, at the places where there is a hub of activity, and you want to always be on the forefront of that which is loved by the world. We will look at that next week, and we'll look at Zebulon part 2. Let us continue to read and understand and ask God to give us the understanding, because as I say, the whole Bible from Genesis to Revelation, it is all about our salvation. It's only that when we can read it as them that are looking for the gems, then we'll find in every verse that revelation of what God is showing us, of what we must do to prepare for a soon coming Savior. That when he comes, our robes may be found to be as white as snow in his blood, washed, and we be them that will stand and receive him. May God bless us, and may he bless you as you continue also to read and study the Bible. As we started this ministry, started in Revelation, in Genesis, looking at these characters. But the whole Bible, as we will go further in this ministry, many other series will come again that will, bring about the understanding. And with your suggestions, we will bring many other, create many other series that are coming out from the Bible themes that may help us to understand what God has for us and what God is saying to us today. May God bless us. Thank you.